Is Latvia actually seriously behind Rail Baltic, or is there still an sorry, I'm gonna ask that
No
again.
problem.
Is Latvia actually serious about Rail Baltic, or is there an approach that, well, maybe we can actually cancel it? Maybe there's a way back.
Honestly, we are all three in the same boat. This is a project which is not Latvia's project or Estonia's project. It is so much important for you as well what Latvia thinks, and for Latvians what Estonians or Lithuanians think. So
That's why we're wondering, what is Latvia thinking?
this project has been an important project, but unfortunately, when we look backwards, the governments or the prime ministers have totally not spent the necessary effort and time on managing the project. It's been running like sidestep, and we see what the consequences are from this. And it's not been serious enough. No. My answer is there is no way out of it at the moment of saying any decision now. Either we stop it, or either we decrease it, or freeze it, or execute it. All of them are painful, politically and financially, for every single citizen of Latvia. So from that perspective, I mean, we have to look very serious from this project point of view. For a Latvian, or I could elaborate for Estonian as well, for Estonian inhabitant, this project costs on every single person in Estonia 4,163 euros to execute it. That is actually 14% of GDP. Just by comparison, it's the same cost to build it in France, Poland. So for French person, it will be 85 euros. It's like a one day of grocery shopping, yeah? Or that's just 0.2% of their GDP. Or for Polish, it's 150. Well, yeah, two shopping times, yes? Or 0.65%. But your closest neighbor is Finland, for example. That would be already harsher, but 1,000 euros per person, or 2% of GDP. So for us, Latvia, it is 5,370, even more. It's 24% of our GDP. So for that perspective, this has to be taken 10 times, 100 times more serious on financial side and execution side. So I think, yes, the answer is totally lack of attention, totally lack of importance. And now we have to get our act together.
So, how much money is Latvia actually missing at this moment? I mean, how
Yeah.
much would you need from the budget which hasn't yet been allocated?
By what has been called the first phase, which means, when looking at the whole information, which means just that we're pushing a lot of things in the phase two. It doesn't mean that we can efficiently build by phase one and RailBaltica. No, we just push a lot of things on the second phase. As an example, in my opinion, two lines or one line, one track railway is an important decision. Financially, yes, but that totally impacts the benefits what we get and the speed what we get, and a lot of future costs. In future, that will cost 40% more to do that as in the first phase. So from that perspective, Latvia gap is 2.7 billion. That is you are in a much better shoes. I know that you are 0.8, and with your this year's budget influence, it is 0.6 or 600 million. You're in much better shoes. Lithuania is 3.7 billion. So as a result, Latvia lacks this. But that doesn't mean the job is done. We are still talking about that we miss the stations. We miss the trains and actual trains. We miss mobility points. So a lot of things are still not there in order to physically have it running. So also for you. So and there's definite things as a Latvian budget. What can it handle? We simultaneously are now putting very huge financial strains. Number one, RailBaltica is 2.7 billion. That gap is not anywhere put in the budget. There's nothing in the budget for that. At the same time, we have the climate targets by 2030 to achieve the same thing. That is 13 billion, and we are missing 10 billion. Then we have a military budget, which we are 3.4% now, which is already huge, but we're going to 5%. That also has to be taken from somewhere. So simultaneously, even just these three things are not to be handled. It's not possible by our budget to handle.
So, what's going to happen? I mean, where do you take that money?
That is the number one question, which unfortunately the given government doesn't want to give an answer, but it has to be answered now. It can't be stretch to end of the year. No, it has to be answered now to you as our partners, as our neighbors, as our friends, because all of us are in the same boat. And here, I consider that there is solution, and this is, we have to use the geopolitical situation, but we have to give it one very important question. Does RailBaltica give an answer to our defense? Is RailBaltica a part of our defense plan? Yes or no? This is an important question in all three countries. If the answer is yes, okay, good. How much? By what time frame we have in order for it to be good in the defense plan? Is it 2030? Yes, no. Does it fulfill the defense plans? Yes, no. Then okay, then we have this opportunity in the EU that now EU has announced that the restructuring and resilience fund, which is unused by many countries, and it's a deadline in 2026, that is not used, and there is a clear movement and announcement that it would be used for European defense purposes. Well, RailBaltica is EU defense infrastructure. That's a TNT line. That is the military mobility question. So we should, as three countries, come together immediately now, put a military status to this project. Because if you look historically, it never has officially been announced as a military type project. So that's number one. Number two, we have to say, what do we build in the first phase? Does it cover the military things? And we have to apply for this money, all three countries together. That is the only chance. Because honestly, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania doesn't have the envelope for money from 2027, 28, 29. That's empty time. We know that's a deficit. You will not have, we don't have, and Lithuania neither. So we have to fill the gap, and there is no solutions to fill the gap. There is no other means of financing.
If you look at the timeline, how much time do we actually have to come together and decide where the money comes from and actually start building the real thing? Are we talking about weeks, months? I mean, when will these decisions...
In my opinion, these decisions have to be made now, months. We have to be first in line. By this announcement, when it becomes official, there's going to be a lot of projects competing between each other. So this has to be as a top priority. That's the only chance. And otherwise, we put a huge burden on our economies, which actually takes us in a worse position defensively, because we're going to be defensively weak in economies in terms of financially weak. So this has to be happening now. Second thing, trains. If this is a defense purpose, we have to have trains running. The decision to be made about trains had to be taken already months ago, minimum, because trains take 6 years to be ordered, procured, ordered, and built and tested on and to be running. So if we want them running, we have to order them now, and all three countries together, not each one separately.
Estonia is already looking at this tender, and the government should be calling it in the next weeks. So where is Latvia?
Well, I congratulate you guys. We even haven't had a discussion started.
That's a bit sad, isn't it?
That is sad. And I've really explicitly been telling about this. There's another very important thing to consider. We have to get a constant financial flow, because existing financing has been like portion to portion to portion. That way we will never build it in time. We will have huge costs. We will have lapse in between. It will cost way more than it's necessary. So we have to have a military type of guidance of this project, financial flow constant, and building as really well executed guided management. But there's another thing which I didn't mention to you, and it's a very important one: the build capacity. So the construction industry capacity to handle such a project. I've tested, and I have some information about Latvia. So on the normal terms in Latvia, this is 200 to 300 million a year is the building capacity. That means engineers, workforce, equipment, technical equipment, and also resources, like land and cement and etc. From that perspective, that is the maximum. We now, if we want to execute this project to the 2030, and we delay it and do it at the last minute, it is going to be 500 million a year. So that's already stretching the envelope of Latvia. But then we have to understand that there's simultaneous projects like border building, like the Salia polygon, military polygon, like energy sector, windmills, for example, like bridges, what we have to do, and road network. These are the things simultaneously happening. If we do this simultaneously, we will have a huge bottleneck in order to execute the project, even if we have money and management. So that is giving a strain, and we have to look from that perspective, because that will be a big inflation, a low quality, and a big risk of delivering in time.
Speaking of construction, for some reason the construction of Rail Baltica per kilometer is a lot more expensive than in Estonia. Have you looked into this? What is the reason?
Yes, this is a very good question, a very important question. I've looked into it, and I think the figures in Estonia are also wrong. They're totally, because we looked in our investigation committee. We looked back in 2017 when it was announced it's going to be 7.6 million per kilometer. That was already 2 times cheaper than any cheapest railway in Europe has been ever built before, 30 years before. So 50 million is the cheapest. 7.6, that's crazy. Your figures show 3.6 per kilometer, 3.7. That's not real. That means we have to compare apples to apples. Does it have all the junctions inside included? Does it have the rail tracks itself? What is included? I think that's embankment only if we look at the Estonian figures. So it's important, what do we compare? The Latvian figures, for sure, are overblown, and that's natural, because we only have 17% design ready steps. So only 4 steps from 65. There is no design finished from the others. So the cost was given not based on design, but based on assumptions. And those assumptions and risks, overly too many risks, have been put inside of the contract. I think it's overblown by 30%, or 1.5 billion euros, in my opinion.
It's interesting to see those wonderful new terminal buildings in central Riga and also in the airport. Those terminal buildings will not have Rail Baltic connected to them in the first. Sorry? Are we good?